Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and today we're discussing chapter 26.
But before we get into all of that, let's talk about what we covered in chapter 25. But first off, Amari's in the second tryout for the Department of International, no, the Department for Supernatural Investigations. They're also international, so don't limit them. And
International, extraterrestrial, they all over the place.
all of them, like multifaceted, multiple languages, all of that. So they hear a rumor of what the tryout's gonna be. Dylan makes sure to get that to her and like towards the end of chapter 24. And then they use that to kind of like get their stuff together, their druthers together to do this scavenger hunt around the bureau. And during the scavenger hunt, they just see all the different departments, or not all of them, like a good chunk of different departments, including ones that we haven't seen before. Like the Department of Half Truths and Full Cover-Ups, where they get to do like a call center thing. They also go to the Department of Creature Control, where there's a ranger that leads them around in a Range Rover for the most part, and they get into finding a creature that shouldn't be there. And like Dylan, thanks to his like insights as like someone who's been in this world for a while, is like, oh, the thing that doesn't belong here is this thing that looks like it should belong here, this plant, but is actually a creature. So in Amari and Dylan working together, you get to see how both of them kind of highlight each other's like strengths and weaknesses, and why they as a team could be pretty powerful together. And they keep calling themselves Vanquish 2.0, and like we see maybe they could be a Vanquish 2.0. The funnest thing about the whole trial situation is that, remember that note about, we kind of know what's going to happen because what the tryout is, because we had heard a rumor about it. Well, the part of the trial is not just gathering all the components for the scavenger hunt. The big pass or fail of it all is, do you share with the agent who gives you your kind of like debrief interview after the tryout the truth about having heard what the tryout was beforehand? And initially Dylan is a little quiet, but then Amari just speaks up because she cannot keep this information to herself. She is a guilt-ridden child, and she's like, no, yes, I'm sorry, we did hear the rumor about what this tryout was. And Dylan's like, yeah, we did. And because they confess, they are given the pass to continue on with being in the running for becoming America's next best top model / model supernatural investigators and special agents.
I also wanted to note that, like, I think it's really funny that is like, first off, I don't know, I watch a lot of Law and Order. You, as part of being an investigator, right, you're supposed to like gather clues and get all the stuff that you want. So it's not cheating, right? Like, at least Amari, we don't really know about Dylan, but Dylan was told, it's a rumor that goes around. It makes sense that you would then like prepare for something that you've heard a rumor about. And so it's really interesting that that ends up being a part of the tryout too, is like, are you going to admit to having kind of a leg up or a head start? Because what we also see is that there are tons of junior agents, or what are they, trainees, they're trainees now, vying to become junior agents, and like all of these like legacy trainees do get all these these legs up, right? Like Dylan talks about his tutors, and we kind of see that like it's not uncommon for them to get extra help. And so it's we talked a little bit in the last episode about like the fake the myth of a meritocracy, of like you just doing this all on your own and individualism. And I think that I really love that part of the trial, because it's also like, you shouldn't actually be ashamed that you got some help. Like, that's actually not, it's not shameful, but then you kind of see the hesitation to admit that like you didn't just figure it all out as you go along.
I don't know if it was like, I don't know that a lot of feelings of shame, I don't know that they were testing for people feeling shamed about it. I think it was more testing for whether people are likely to keep valuable information to themselves rather than sharing it with a department.
Well, the agent, when she asked, is like, did you cheat? They like kind of frame it as like a cheating thing, and it's like, well,
yeah,
it wasn't a conscious effort to cheat, because it's a rumor, you know, like we didn't know, the rumor could have been completely false. We could have had bad information and we all studied for the wrong thing, right? It's like, you like, I think in like all kind of schooling situations and just in life, you kind of make an assumption of what you think the challenge is going to be, and then you try to prepare that way. And I think that for me, what was interesting is just that framing of like, are you going to tell the truth about the leg up that you got?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that with the Bureau being the way that it is, I think that like the culture of the Bureau is everyone like legacy being the guiding light for what is right and wrong in the Bureau, and legacy dictates like you should never feel wrong about having tutors or any. So it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that the takeaway. I think the takeaway for a lot of it is to like, how much of yourself are you, like, if the Bureau is going to build you up, how much are you going to build up the Bureau by also sharing what you learn along the way with the Bureau?
Mm-hmm. We also asked y'all what department you would want to be in. So we did a poll. So I want to note that nobody chose the Department of Supernatural Investigations, and like, you know, I feel like
that department.
We curate a very specific audience here on Wizard Team.
We all know what's going on. We all read the same book. We don't want to be part of this mess. This is messy. No, thank you.
But nobody wants to go into law enforcement like that.
Yeah.
Like,
no. So we got one for Good Fortunes and Bad Omens, one for Licenses and Records, 2 for Department of Unexplained, 6 for Department of Dreams and Nightmares, which is interesting. That was the biggest one, and then 4 for Department of Hidden Places and 1 for Department of the Dead.
I feel like that's a lot of night owls right there. They're like, look,
yeah.
I'm ready.
I kind of decided, I went back I didn't answer the poll because I didn't know, but I decided like right today, basically before when we were getting ready to record this, I would join the Department of the Dead. I love like Dios de los Muertos. I love the idea of like learning from ancestors and like communing with the dead and like that sense of like another realm or whatever. I don't think it has to be spooky. I don't really think of ghosts as spooky. So that's what I would choose. But I was like laughing because of how many people chose Dreams and Nightmares. And I think y'all got caught up on the dreams part of that.
Or they got caught up on the Beyonce.
And nightmares, y'all! And Beyonce.
It's possible. Every time I read it, I definitely think of that song.
Beyonce sang about
it. I'm thinking Beyonce, honestly.
I just feel like, y'all, nightmares.
I wanted to do the Department of Hidden Places. It felt very like introverted to me, you know. It's like
really, it feels very introverted to me.
You're saying,
well, see, I'm thinking of like you can do research. You can like. I'm not thinking of the action. I'm thinking of like.
I think you're talking about introversion when the appeal for you more is in the mapping, because
I'm like the map in the books, and like I can go like, you know, there's a hidden city. I can go like explore and see it, but I'm not like jumping off of stuff.
Girl, I have gone on trips with you. You are not an explorer.
She is a cartographer.
You're a cartographer.
Yeah, but I'm down to walk through a city, like, and
not
see
without
new
knowing.
stuff.
Like, you have to be the one that has like the map, and like you have to have a plan.
But if I learn how to do that, I wouldn't do it now because I don't know how to do that shit. I'm saying if I was like going into learn, wanted to learn how to do it, I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be cool.
Well, we didn't have it on there because there were not enough holes and options. But I would either be the research one, because clearly that's just like, I'm like, give me like an array of things to research, and I'm just gonna pick the thing, and then I'm gonna jump over to the next thing I want to research after that, and then just keep going. That would appeal to me. But I'm also intrigued by the unexplained. And if Homeboy can just be a floating head, what could I do? Like, I don't want to be like separated body parts, but I do want to just like puzzle down like lanes and like just sit and theorize and learn, but also not have a complete answer all the time either. Like, it would just be fun to like, again, navigate myself along across whatever I'm interested in at any given time. And I'm not sure if I'm like an inventor level, so I don't know if the Department of Research would appeal to me more than unexplained if I have to like invent stuff all the time, because I'm not really inventive in that way.
I will say this. There's a lot of things that you can do in the Department of Unexplained. The minute, Porshèa, you start leaving body parts, our friendship
I'm not
is
into
over.
that.
You say that. You say
and
that.
I think the only thing that appeals to me is like,
and I'm happy
like
for
an
you.
evil queen. And I was like, I just need to be separated from my heart right now, because the heart is wanting too many things, and I need to just be all mind. Possibly I could store my heart away, but that's the only thing.
Physical, like visual body parts. If you show up at brunch or something, missing a crucial part of your anatomy,
like,
and I know that you just left it at home, friendship over. That's that.
Like, can I find out that you just it's only missing because you voluntarily
left it behind?
So funny.
I think that would be fun. That would be the mentor / department head, literally department head, is like,
literal department.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's true though. Oh no. Yeah, But yeah, I think I do say that was one of my favorite chapters, because we did get to like learn more about all of the different departments and stuff, and hopefully, I mean, I kind of know because I've read the second book, but hopefully we get to see more in future. I know it's like centered on the Department of Investigation, but
I'm just sad. I wish that we could see Amari's capabilities had she not like needed to be in the Department of Investigations in order to like track down Quinton. Like, what would she really have been interested in if that had not been her? Like,
that's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think Amari should have joined if she didn't need to find her brother? That may not be our question for the week. We still have to go through this whole chapter. But if you have an answer for that, because I do think that like Amari's really good at like seeing the best in people, and I like if there's like a diplomatic, I guess that's what is that like a fair hidden, I don't know, what's like the diplomatic core. Like I could see her maybe the unexplained, but or maybe it would fall under like the health because of like more like mental.
Maybe not. I feel like the cover-ups does some of it, but it's more about covering things up than it is about like.
See, because I feel like, I mean, maybe it actually is investigations, but it's just like a different focus, not so much law enforcement. But like, I feel like she would be great at like settling the issues with the Yetis, because she could just sit down and talk to them, treat them like equals, figure out what's really going on, and come up with a diplomatic solution. Like, you know, Little Miss Secretary of State over here. Like, bridging gaps, making people, you know, seeing commonalities in people. Like, I feel like that's what Amari got going on.
I feel like she's not already enough for the Dreams and Nightmares or the Good Fortunes, Bad Omens crew. But it'd be interesting. But I do like that she's very inquisitive and curious about things, and then also, like, I feel like whatever department she's in, she would probably make a good teacher or trainer. Once she got to that level of like training others, like she'd be really good at that.
Yeah. Cool. Should we get into chapter 26?
Yeah, let's do it. So that night, the remaining junior agent trainees are called to the lobby of the Department of Supernatural Investigations. We find out there's only 6 left. So there's Amari and Dylan, Josh Adams and Brian Lee, and then 2 of Laura's followers, Zoe Wisniewski and Madison Klein. Laura and Kirsten aren't there. We find out they actually failed.
Kirsten.
They failed because they didn't tell the truth at the end. So they were actually the first. Laura and Kirsten were the first to complete the clues, but then when they were asked about the cheating, they lied. And so, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles. Love that.
You know what I was thinking about, though? Is like, not that this is, you know, applicable to Kirsten and Laura, but like, truthfully, if Amari hadn't been paired up with Dylan, Amari would not have known, because they went out of their way to not tell her.
Yeah.
And how would the agents know that Amari didn't know? It's like, if at the end, if she was like on her own, even though you had to be paired up, but like, that's just hypothetical. She's on her own, and they ask her, like, did you get any hints, or did you have any sense? And she said no. Would she fail, or would they know that she's so isolated?
She probably wouldn't even get that. She wouldn't probably.
Yeah, she probably would be the last person to complete the thing. So they'd be like, "Well, this kid clearly had no idea. Like, how? Like, why is she so slow?"
Okay, that's
like, because I think part of giving
because
the
it went so fast.
It went so fast, yeah. And then, so Amari guesses too that like they're supposed to end with 8 trainees left, not 6. But she's guessing that the other folks were disqualified too, so they're just left with 6. Which, like, dang, y'all really did not listen to that first talk. That didn't Magnus give him that talk at the beginning? Or Fiona, one of them was like, y'all gotta have integrity. But the thing is, like,
they like just were bad at, like, they had a task that effed them up. Like, they were not supposed to be asking questions in the unexplained, but they did, and they like fell down the hole or something. Like, you know, like, you never know.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, not everyone probably failed at the end.
Yeah, not everyone. But the fact that there wasn't like a backup, somebody came in 5th and then, you know,
got bumped up.
Got bumped up because of Laura and Kirsten. It's like, no, they either failed or they got disqualified because they didn't answer.
Like, part of me just wants to know what the misadventures were, just so I can know, like,
yeah,
like what kind of.
And I mean, I know they all went to different. They had different routes, so they didn't all go to the same places. So yeah, I'm definitely curious what it's like. I kind of wish there was like a monitor of like all the kids going through the thing.
Now we're getting very Hunger Games here.
It is. It's really funny because I was not. As I said it, I thought that, but they're just going on a treasure hunt. They're not like murdering each other, so I feel like it's okay.
Sidebar, but have y'all seen the trailer for the?
Bro, it actually makes me want to read the books. It's kind of wild.
No, I haven't.
It's like
it makes me want to read the book.
Really?
I don't want to read the book, honestly. I was like, this is the first time I'm like, I kept hearing people talk about the book not being as good as they wanted it to be. And I'm like, I feel like I would be more entertained watching the movie than reading the book, given how people like gave feedback on the book.
Going all the way back to game design, I agree with you, Porshèa. I do really love that. I wish it wasn't always in service of. I like it more in like the Amari sense of like the tryouts and stuff where. Like, I think Bayana even said, like, they're not trying to get the kids killed. Like, no one's trying to die. There's, like, stopgaps and safety measures, and, like, it's, you know, testing your knowledge without testing your safety. I think about this, like, so there was a book that I read that I really want Bayana to read, so I don't know how to say this. But one of the characters likes escape rooms. And I was like, that is a cool job to like design an escape room.
Mm-hmm.
It's puzzle making, like you said, but yeah.
So Agent Fiona congratulates the 6 of them on passing the tryout. There's only 7 days between now and the finale, but they get like kind of free time. Basically, they get that 7 days. They don't have to they don't have to go to class or anything. They just get to spend that time basically doing whatever they think they need to do to prepare. So they're in the finale, they'll need to test their supernatural world knowledge, their dueling skills with sky sprints and stun sticks, and their control over their supernatural ability. We're just getting to some BS a little bit. So Madison's hand goes up and she says that she doesn't think it's fair that the rest of them have to demonstrate their supernatural ability and Amari gets to skip it. Fiona explains that they haven't decided how they're going to handle Amari's situation yet. And then Brian Lee is like, I heard she used a spell during her tryout. Isn't that illegal? And then Fiona explains about like how she was given permission from her chaperone.
I really hate the idea of like, I mean, I like the way that B.B. Alston wrote this, where it's literally like in like one moment you're seeing it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing. But also I really hate this idea that these like trainees can like, not that they shouldn't feel comfortable like expressing opinions and stuff, because trainees are not, they're human beings with their own autonomy, but like when you're trying out for a job or when you're trying to gain knowledge and stuff, to like, it's one thing to like question a teacher or a mentor about like the subject matter, like why do we do it this way, right? But to like question them about how they like run the program,
right?
Excuse you?
Yeah.
Like y'all don't have a say in who makes what. Like we design this.
The decision was
we
already
tell
made.
You the rules. It's not up for debate. Yeah, it's just like this isn't a democracy. You want to join this department, then like worry about yourself.
Right. And then Brian is talking about like it sounds like special treatment that she doesn't get to use her supernatural ability, but it's like no, it's actually the opposite. You like privileged little kid.
No,
like
everyone else sees their ability and she doesn't. That's
exactly that's actually the problem.
But my thing was like, not surprised, but how like they just completed the trial and he already knows that Amari was able to use her ability. So the word of mouth already got around that quickly in the bureau. That's how much they gossip. And we went from last chapter, the Rangers suddenly have a newfound respect for Amari as a musician who could control herself, whoop-de-doo, to them saying that's a reason why they should exclude her again. And I'm like, I'm over the whole
it's very
situation.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, it's so frustrating. This dude goes so far as to say that Amari should be disqualified and Lara should be let back in, even though Lara didn't actually follow the rules. Fiona at this point,
like, and y'all really advocating for someone to get a spot because she couldn't hack it. You'd rather a hack get in.
Come on.
And also, like, if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think Amari should get a spot, but like, I'm not asking for more competition to get in. You still not in the program. There's still only 4 of y'all.
Right.
Amari shouldn't be able to get in. Oh, look at that. Only one of us now needs to get in.
Like, if you don't want me to get in, then beat me.
Right.
Beat me up. That's the thing that we're all doing together. Do better than me. How about that?
So then Fiona at this point shuts it down. She's like, it's a good thing it's not up to you, isn't it? You're all dismissed. She's like, y'all
get out of my face.
Please go. Yeah. So Amari, as they're leaving, is kind of like, she's like, it isn't fair that she gets to skip a section of the finale. And she's like, I do have things I could demonstrate because she's been practicing her illusions, but would they ever let her show off her magic? So like she on the like more baseline of what they're saying agrees. Which I agree, and I do too. Like that, she should be allowed to show her her supernatural ability. Her magic is her supernatural ability. She should be allowed to show how she can put that like
to use.
But yeah.
This is a this is a spoiler. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'll figure it out. This scene, when you think about what happens in the next book, is very like, y'all are so wishy-washy. Like, get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use all the turntables.
The flip-flops.
the flippity floppers.
You saying that, like, honestly gets to, like, it brings me to the major overarching point, and I think I'm gonna, like, bring it up a couple of times in between this chapter and next, about, like, how annoyed and miffed I am that Amari's expected to do her best, be her best, when everyone around on the behalf of others who continually showcase to her, like, why they feel her less than worthy, why they feel like she should not be there, why they will do everything to make her be uncomfortable, feel uncomfortable, hate crime her, everything. But she's supposed to take that in a stride and still do things that benefit them with her magical skill and ability. And it pisses me off to no end. And I think that's, like, my ire at the adults, like, continually putting that on her and never, like, checking themselves, like, why am I saying this to a child? Like, why am I expecting a child to be better than the adults? Like, what am I actually doing? Like, why am I not pushing the adults to be better people? Why am I not pushing for this to be a change that, like, so it just reminds me of so many things. And it, like, honestly, like, desegregation, integration, and all that kind of stuff is, like, what's coming to mind the most, and it really is, like, bothering me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amari's goes to the cafeteria with Elsie. And even though there are a lot fewer trainees than they started with at the beginning of the summer, the cafeteria is full because there are a bunch of tutors and coaches and, like, kids who have whole teams to help them pass their finales in various
So 8
like,
kids
departments,
left,
in various departments, but I think it's kids across departments, but also especially the ones who are trying out to be junior agents.
Yeah, because that's the most competitive.
I wonder how many kids are per department. Like, how many do they I guess depending on, like, how popular those departments are, how many kids make it to those final rounds.
Yeah,
I think it probably also depends on what, like,
how many slots they have too.
Yeah. But it's really interesting in general, the idea of having whole teams. And, like, I mean, it says, in the next sentence, sorry, but, like, all of these, like, retired department employees, they have their whole career, and then they retire, and then their, like, secondary career is to, like,
they become tutors and private lesson teachers, and they're just like, hey, give me the money and I will tell you all the secrets of my job.
Yeah, and it's just, like, funny because I feel like Elsie sees this through Amari's eyes for the first time, and it's like, oh no, this is really messed up.
Yeah. And, like, shouldn't be the case. Like, I don't understand why it's allowed for the finale. Like, you did all your studying and whatever before the summer. Now you should, like, have to use your own, like, resources in your own way. But being able to just bring people in for that week, I feel like, is really out of pocket.
I feel like it probably I can see how it started. I can see, like, it'd be like someone's parents or grandparents being like, well, I should be able to tell my kid whatever. I should be able to, like, be able to bring in, and then it just, like, becomes a tradition or a practice.
It's a whole industry, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. So Amari points out that Elsie doesn't really have anything to worry about. The junior researcher trainees had to sit in a locked room and solve 7 puzzles, with the last puzzle holding the key that opened the door.
An escape room!
It's an escape room. The first 16 kids who opened the door got an invite to their finale, and Elsie finished it in 15 minutes. But, she has the supernatural, her ability.
It's
Although I don't know if
aura.
that goes
She
with her
doesn't
ability, because that
have-
makes her an inventor, not like a. I think
Yeah,
she just is smart.
she doesn't have like, so Quinton's
Has the
supernatural
super
ability was like
genius.
genius aptitude or super
Yeah.
genius. Elsie is a super genius inventor, which is a bit more specialized, or maybe just like a
Mhm.
super inventor or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's much more creative. Though, so I do think that that does help with like an escape room to like have like creative problem solving.
I think
But-
that plus the aura things probably gives her like insight to like knowing how to shape out like issues. Like if there's a problem, like someone she can tell someone's going through a problem. She's probably been able to like read people's auras to figure out problem solving things, and so that's probably adding to her experience level when it comes to puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think the aura thing was ever like there's not a name given to it, right?
No, she
No,
just
I
can
think
read
just
auras.
read auras, yeah.
That's her were-dragon trait, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a sidebar question that's related. What do people just train every year? There's like a fresh batch of people coming in who are 12, right? And then there's also the 13, 14-year-olds who didn't make it in the previous years who are also trying out for spots. So they just trying different departments until they fit into a department? And then there's more people coming in every year, plus the people who didn't make it last year, all every year trying to get into another department.
I think so.
That's
But
pretty frustrating.
It's a very small community. So if you think about like schools, right? So like in a neighborhood or like in a town or whatever, there are times in which schools will kind of start to like die because the population is aging, and then you need an influx of new people who are going to have kids who will then start to grow up in those towns. I think about like my grandmother's, I mean our neighborhood, the neighborhood that my parents live in. When I was in high school, like Halloween was popping. There were all these kids, all this stuff. I don't know if partially it's because of like the world is turned to crap and the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, at Halloween now there's like nothing. We have like maybe like 2 trick-or-treaters. Like there are no kids in this neighborhood anymore. And so I would think that like they have these moments of like kind of like baby boomers where there's a lot of people, but then because there's a bigger population, they might need more people in the bureau. And then it's just like this kind of like self-replicating system of like, yeah, all these kids are training and trying at different age groups or whatever to get to where they need to go. But every single year there's a number of older people in the bureaus who are retiring or getting taken by Moreau's apprentice. Who knows where, right? So it's actually kind of funny because it's like, shouldn't the supernatural affairs actually have like 2 extra slots that they need to fill? Because shouldn't they need more slots filled than like before, right? So like it's a weird thing where I think it kind of balances out. And then if there are a lot of like kids or trainees, that probably represents that like the supernatural world is also in like having a higher population of people, so they need a bigger capacity to like rein it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is you saying that makes me also wonder, do they ever let like Sasquatch or like Yetis or like ghouls or whatever ever be like part of the departments or part of the bureau?
Especially the Yetis, they know what they're about that action.
Mm-hmm.
The Sasquatch got a whole mafia. They might be like, come on. I gotta see them wanting a kid to infiltrate, you know, like just have one person to like tell them what's going on in the bureau, go to the Department of Records, let them know what properties.
Oh my god, you know? It's like The Departed. This is actually kind of like the kid magical Departed, because you have
what? That's it?
We're not doing spoilers.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll keep going. So Dylan comes and sits with Elsie and Amari at their table, and he apologizes about, or she apologizes about Lara. I think she kind of feels bad because Dylan and Lara were supposed to team up, and then Dylan decided he was going to team up with Amari.
They were supposed to team up. That was all in Lara.
That's what I'm saying. They ain't got nothing to do with her, but whatever. She's a nice...
those extra points. It was Amari
nice
and Dylan.
Kid.
It wasn't Dylan and Lara. They didn't earn the points.
Amari is a nice kid, and so I guess she feels
she's a little too nice.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, ma'am, but it's fine. That's how she feels. And then Dylan says that she's pretty mad, and their dad agrees that it's his fault for not choosing her as his partner.
I hate this idea of... I mean, we already know that the Van Helsing parents are negligent at best.
The thing is they would have failed
bad at worst.
If they were together, because Amari was the one who snitched. Dylan wouldn't have done that on his own.
They would have both
failed.
And then he would have been blaming Agent Fiona, and whatever for running a test that was discriminating.
They would have slipped him in.
I do this all the time, but I'm never serious about it. Like, I literally just did this to my best friend, and I was like, "This is your fault." And she was like, "How is this my fault?" I was like, "Because it obviously can't be my fault, right?" I'm joking. I realize. I hope that people know I'm joking. Am I really joking? At a certain point in my logically, I know that that's not true, but also emotionally, it feels very good to put the blame on somebody else. But logically, I know that the buck stops here, and I am a full real life person. But Dylan and Lara are still 12, so the fact that their parents let them push the blame of their own failures onto other people is going to be normal, especially it seems like for Lara, and Dylan being like, "Yeah, my dad agrees that it's my fault." No,
it's really not.
For me, that just shows it just underlines parent child, because earlier in the book we hear Agent Fiona talk, or is it Agent Magnus, talk about how the Van Helsing take credit. It's Fiona, how the Van Helsing take credit for others' work. But then that also showcases how the Van Helsing's probably, the director Van Helsing in particular, does not take credit for his own failures. He'll take credit for whenever someone else does well, but he won't take credit for whenever he does something that doesn't work out. And I can see that very much being that's how the kids are. Kids pick up on that. Kids pick up on that's even if your parents aren't outright telling you this is how you should act, they're picking up on how you act.
Yep. But it becomes just a bit more nefarious when you're then placing the blame on another family member, right? So it's if they could find a way, I mean, I guess Lara would be like, Dylan didn't partner with me, and so it's his fault that I didn't pass, but it's Amari's fault that he didn't partner with me, so it's actually all Amari's fault. I'm trying to figure out where the...
It doesn't have to make sense. We just had this conversation. Things don't have to. They don't make
sense. But it's just it's just
when they don't want it to when they want it to fit their understanding of themselves and their world, it does not have to make sense.
Yeah, it just, to me, it's I mean, I guess they're already teaching their children horrible habits and lessons and things, but to be okay. And I guess we do see this in their family, and we see the way that Dylan talks about how he would be rejected if they actually knew that he was a magician. So even that sense of it's not unconditional love and acceptance in their family. It's very much conditioned. There are conditions that you have to meet to be accepted as a member of their family. What
does love even look like? That, honestly, what you're saying sounds like acceptance, but what is love?
I couldn't even tell you, man. I really can't, but it just seems very crazy to me that, and maybe crazy is the wrong word, but bizarre that they would go so far as to not only blame Dylan, but let him know that he's to blame, and not find a way to just blame Amari.
I feel like for me, it reads more as like they have to try to wrangle in Dylan from having his like being different thoughts. Like he's over here trying to be different, trying to like take up for Amari and like it's choosing her over his own twin sister to be partnered with, and they're trying to check him so they can show him like, you can't stray from the family thing, like we will blame you for stuff, so don't try to keep getting away with like being rebellious. Like your rebellion is not going to go too far because we're going to check you on it.
Yeah.
And how we'll check you is by acting like you're like not part of the family. Like we'll blame you like we blame other people.
Whew. Therapy.
That would warrant caring, and they do not care. They care more about the reputation than they care about having a strong family.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, Amari is feeling guilty because, I don't know, she has empathy or whatever. And
empathy.
Then
How inconvenient.
For somebody like Lara who shows up with her friends. She's holding a laptop and is reading. She's holding a laptop. She's reading off. She goes, "Let's see here. Amari Peters, recipient of the Jefferson Academy Scholarship for the Disadvantaged. Oh, how sad." And I'm just like, first of all, why is that sad? Like, why is it sad that she would get a scholarship? Like, why should she be upset about that? Like,
for the disadvantaged. I felt Jefferson Academy,
but that's not.
Jefferson Academy is messed the F up to have a scholarship name. A scholarship for the disadvantaged.
First of all, that should not be what it's called at all. Second of all, like, if you get that scholarship, the idea is that she got it because, like, through merit, right? Like, I guess they don't care about that. They actually
merit and need. They don't care.
Merit only applies to them whenever they want to say that they got something by merit.
No,
they don't
care
about
they want the legacy situation. So Dylan tells
all day.
Yeah,
but it's
Dylan
also
tells
just
Lara
really weird because, I mean, this is something I've never fully understood, but happens all the time. But it's like, if it's Amari's, I guess that does make sense. If it's Amari's fault that she's disadvantaged, then it's she did something wrong to be born poor, and then you did something right to be born with means.
I don't think they're thinking that. Yes, I don't think the kids are thinking that deeply,
their parents, their grandparents, everyone who came before them to make sure they were rich, they did the right thing. Mm-hmm. Your parents, your grandparents, that's the whole point of people trying to shame Black people for having ancestors that were enslaved, and instead of actually putting the shame and blame on people who were plantation owners and human traffickers. Instead of blaming them, running down that legacy and shaming them, they're like, no, the shame should be on the people who were captured and entrapped and human trafficked. That's who the shame should go on to.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's something that I do want to understand, but I've never...
They feel like it was a conquest thing, and it was eat or be eaten, the Darwin situation, and that the weak people were the ones who were enslaved, and the strong people were the ones who were making the system as it is. And so you being on the wrong side of that, that's on your ancestors being weak and not living up to Darwin's principles. So they're the real winners.
Yeah.
And we're the loser.
So Dylan tells Lara to leave Amari alone, and Lara's like, but I'm just getting started. She leans in closer to the screen and says, it seems you can take the girl out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the girl. Look at these.
And that's when I punch her.
Yeah, like, she needs to go. Like, I'm sorry. I just feel like all of this that she's doing is only because she's mad that she couldn't pass her little test. That's on her.
Like,
if she had some integrity and I was honest, then she would have passed her test.
And she wasn't so occupied by what Amari was doing. Maybe she would have passed the freaking test.
Hello.
Like, I would honestly, if I didn't punch her, if she didn't get punched, I at least would have been like, oh yeah, I have all these discipline referrals, but at least I'm gonna
Be in the
keep going on
final.
to become a junior agent. At least I'm in the final.
Looks like you should. Looks like one of us actually earned these discipline referrals because what are you
got
doing?
That laptop, you could be researching.
What level of discipline is this show for you? You're bringing your dad's private work computer into this public space.
Come on, Bayana said you should be using that laptop to study,
to research, like for next summer.
Let's do some research, Mama.
Like, come on.
Your actions are giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Okay. I'm just saying, there are other things she could do with the research that she has. So Dylan snatches the computer away from her, is like, back off. Lara shrieks, how dare you? She grabs Dylan's plate of spaghetti and tries to dump it over his head. So this is like, at this point, she's really like...
I wanted to make sure we get the point where, like, Amari asked her where she got that computer, and Lara says that her dad left his computer lying around. So he wanted her
to find it.
He didn't
he wanted her to see it. I don't know. Like, I think that there's like two different things. I think that, like, yes, Director Van Helsing is being an asshole, leaving that kind of information lying around. Obviously, I don't know that he necessarily wanted her to see it. He might have been pulling it up for his own thing to, like,
he wanted her to see it. So if he was done with it, he would have closed it.
Well, I'm not saying I'm saying, though, that he didn't pull it up expressly to show Lara. I'm saying he probably pulled it up to go on and do his own, like he's doing
trying
his
to
own
get her
research
kicked
on
out.
Amari to get her kicked out on a separate level, and then maybe left it open because, if somebody sees it, then cool. But I don't think he left it open. He didn't, like, open it with Lara sitting there and just, like, put, like, it's not a dead drop. You know what I mean? Like,
he also, like, she stole from her own daddy. Or...
Right.
Is snooping in her own daddy's stuff.
Because she could also take pictures and then bring it. Like, she didn't have to bring the whole
laptop.
That's
what I'm saying. She brought her father's private laptop into a public space. Like,
and then brags about it. She's the worst. So Amari shouts stop, and it does stop. A shimmering illusion of her appears, and she catches the plate of spaghetti in midair. She turns to look at Amari over her shoulder and winks. Gasp sound from the crowd of kids who have gathered. Amari's like, did I really just do that? With a flick of her fingers, the illusion pushes the plate of spaghetti right into Lara's face. Kids all around the food court point and laugh. The illusion vanishes, and Elsie scrambles around the table to where Amari's standing.
Shout out to Illusion Amari, though.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't know that was a possibility. Just like,
I thought that her illusion was like, F that. Like, this is, I'm gonna call enough. We're gonna do this. Like, I'm tired. I love this. She's gotta go.
The wink.
This is what needs to happen. The wink.
Like, listen, girl, I'm in charge now.
You know what it is.
I'm the captain now. Okay. You not gonna do what needs to be done.
Lara snarls, "You are so dead." Amari's like, "Mess with me or my friends again, and next time it'll be worse." And I know that's right. Like, let's call a thing a thing. This girl is a straight up bully who, for some reason, doesn't know how. All the tutors in the world couldn't get her to pass that tryout, and she taking it out on Amari. Like, Lara freezes. Her expression is suddenly unsure. She has no way of knowing what my magic is capable of, not after what I just did. So basically now all of a sudden she's like, oh, maybe I am. she's been posturing, bucking up because she thinks somebody's going to do anything. And now that, like, it's clear that's not the case.
All the kids started laughing at her and pointing because I'm like, that
exactly.
And they would have been like, ooh. Yeah, like, right. But the fact that she can also be a scapegoat and she can also be laughed at, like, it had to humble her for a real quick minute. She's like, wait a minute, the crowd can turn against me? I thought I hurt the crowd.
Exactly. So Amari and Elsie leave. Dylan stays to calm his sister, which I guess whatever. I guess you're related or whatever. Like... Shouldn't have been talking shit.
Thank you. I was about to... Scott Williams said it best.
If my sister were being a bully, I would just be like, and so I'm gonna just tell Mama what happened.
Also, like, come on,
she was attacking him.
Throw the spaghetti on him.
Yeah, I would have been like, hate that for you. So then Elsie is like, I didn't know your illusion.
That tomato sticks.
Yeah, it does.
The stains be hard to get out. You better run to the, dry cleaning. Is that dry cleaning or
probably not? I mean,
They're rich. They probably just throw it away. It's not.
That's also, but I just could just imagine, like, as a kid having to wear stuff that needs to be dry cleaned to school, just in general, that feels like a terrible idea. Rich or not, that just feels like you're asking for trouble. So Elsie's like, I didn't know your illusions could do that, and Amari is like, me neither. Which, yeah.
Can I just say, like, go Amari, yay for sticking up for yourself, here for all of that. I really need to understand how you accidentally illusion, and like what at this point, is it like super strong emotions? Is it that she's imagining herself like in her subconscious, like, if I could, I'd grab that spaghetti and throw it back at you, and then that's what happens? Like, I need to understand the mechanics of this, because it is really scary if you think about the fact that, like, her illusion was able to manipulate, like, physical space and time. Like, there's actual spaghetti on Laura, and she does not know how she did that,
right?
Or how to,
or she doesn't know how she made it. Like, she controlled it. Because it's more like she doesn't know how she
made it move the plate.
Yeah, she made it move the plate. Like, it happened when she said stop. It happened. That's the part she didn't control when it showed up. And then after, when she was like, "Oh, was that me?" And then she tried and she could control it, but it wasn't like. So she, but it's more like the initial part of it that she,
the appearance of the
appearance that
like
she
it actually
didn't.
Coming, yeah.
My
thing is she. For me, like you're saying, like I feel like the more that she trains with using her ability, the stronger her ability has become. So like the manifestation and the initial manifestation that we remember is her like having the fire illusion and whatever kind of come out outside of the crystal ball was the fire illusion on the table. So it's interesting that now that she's been practicing more with her illusion, she can manifest a double of herself, and it can manipulate physical objects. That's interesting. Like the stronger she gets, the stronger her illusions become, even without her thinking about it.
Yeah. See, I have to reread that. I misread it, I guess, because I thought, like, with the wink and stuff, I thought that whole thing from stop until the spaghetti hit Laura, she was like, "Is this me? Am I doing this?" You know?
Yeah. But, no, it's the beginning part, and then she's like,
"Well,"
she goes, "Is this me? Did I do this?" And then she flicks her finger, and that's when
because the wink is before she flicks, and I think the wink is like that is the illusion, like her not knowing what she's doing. The wink part is like, oh, okay. But it's interesting. I don't know. So I wonder, like if it is her subconscious, like you were saying, and maybe her subconscious, like I would love to see Elsie do an aura reading of her when she has like the illusion up. Like, is it protective thing coming out for her subconscious, or her subconscious like, oh, I'm going to protect you from the situation kind of thing? Like, what is this? What is her aura as this is happening?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting is she is learning more, and she's getting better control of her magic, especially with like having the book that she's using. But she still feels like she still doesn't understand the mechanics or the like science or whatever, the reasoning behind the illusions. And the scary part there is like, I mean, we haven't really seen her like investigate that book more, but the book seems like it's just giving her different spells. It's just kind of like a laundry list of spells and how to use them. But like, because this reminds me of, this is weird, but like, because we don't want to come to grips with like law enforcement and how crappy it is, we do not like keep stats in any way that will really help us like learn about law enforcement, like we don't actually, there's not like a single national like directory of like all gun violence, right? Like, you've seen people like trying to make these projects on their own, but there isn't like a federal directory of it. There's not a federal directory of like police officers who do whatever, and that is because it's not like centralized, and that's because we don't actually want to know. Not the royal we, because like we have a centralized directory for like car insurance. You know what I mean? Your car insurance, if I drive across state lines, like you can still run my plates and then figure out like, am I insured or whatever. We do not have the same thing for like medical insurance, where if I have to switch doctors, I then have to give them all this information all over again, right? So I understand why it doesn't exist, but it's also very scary that there is not a place that you can go as a born magician to figure this stuff out that's not like having her talk to the Moreau, like the Knight brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've ever wondered why all the Black kids are watching anime or why K-pop slaps so hard, then Culture by Culture is the podcast for you.
Analyze Black and Asian cultural connections with the help of experts, deep dive into culturally significant gateway media, and dig into cultural identities and pop cultural interests of fellow fans.
Follow or subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or visit culturexpodcast.com. That's Culture X, the letter X, podcast.com for more info. Culture by Culture, a multidimensional exploration into Black and Asian pop cultural ties.
Okay, so we've been to the library already, but this is actually the first time it gets described.
This is the deeper dive into the library.
Yeah,
we need it.
And it's so tight. It's so tight. So, Amari,
it makes a Dewey Decimal System look like, girl, what? Like
nothing. Could never. Dewey could
Luddites,
never.
okay?
So there are three reasons why Amari never gets tired of the library. First, it's just so cool looking. Everything is made up of books, the floors, the ceilings, even the pillars between the bookcases. You can type in your book title into the computer catalog and get directions like 3 paces to the left and look down, or pillar closest to Fern, climb up halfway. The second reason is there's so many interesting things to read about, even aside from what she needs to learn to become a junior agent. And the third reason is Mrs. Bell, the librarian, which, LOL. I had to read her name like the next twice to be like, oh, that's like a reference.
Beauty and the Beast.
So, yeah.
Oh.
Right? The first time when I was like reading it, I just kind of was like, okay, Mrs. Bell, and then I read it the second time on the next page, and I was like, oh, right. She has a knack for knowing what you'd like to read just by looking at you. It's really helpful whenever she gets burned out from studying the not so fun books on their book list. And she says there's a reason the new supernatural laws and regulations comes with a pillow on the cover.
But also, sorry, Mrs. Bell is one of the is the truest. Like, she is like the librarian's librarian, because you hear about these other ones that work at the library and they can go kick rocks. Miss Bell, she be seeing Amari and she be appreciating book lovers. And I love librarians and I love libraries, and they're just in the real world, in the supernatural world, in the underworld. It's just the place to be. Okay, you find yourself somewhere and you don't know what's going on. Go to the nearest library. You'll be set. They'll help you out. They'll get you. And you know what is
fitting? Like, last week was like National Library Appreciation Week or whatever. There's Appreciation Day that we missed, and I'm like, we appreciate librarians. We appreciate all the work that they do, that they happen to currently do with all this rigmarole and especially trash happening. And then they're like, they keep trying to slash the librarians and library budgets, and I'm like, the libraries are the most consistent public good that I've ever interacted with ever.
The return on investment continuously proves itself out. Continuously. There is not a time in which you don't put dollars into the library and you get more dollars out of it. Stop playing with us. Stop playing with libraries.
Like, we all know the reason. The reason is you don't want an educated public. You don't want to have people have social resources that is a third place for them to be outside of their house or work. You want them to feel like they're obligated to just be hunkered down into like your capitalist manifest. And like, F all of that. Thank goodness libraries exist. And I love good depictions of librarian relationships with their patrons. It's always so sweet.
Agreed. So Mrs. Bell asks if Amari wants an old news magazine from the archives. And Amari asks instead for something new about Quinton that might have come in. There's a shipment of gossip magazines, which may be less than reputable sources, but sometimes your best information comes from less than reputable sources. And then says, "You remember that when you become a big shot agent, you hear?" So she's just nice. She's like, that's the thing about it. It's like, I'm really glad that Amari gets like some folks who are not trash.
Yeah,
basically.
just real. And I also think that it's like really interesting too, because she's like teaching lessons too, right? Like, yeah, this is about to be a tabloid, but it could also be a jumping off point. You know, don't believe everything you read. This is a less than reputable source, but
right. Sometimes yeah. And I appreciate that too. Like, just, you know, media literacy is important. And so you definitely have to take it all with a grain of salt. But sometimes TMZ be breaking stuff sometimes. Like, sometimes
listen,
even reputable sources be effing up sometimes though too.
Well.
Like, sometimes you will have an academic journal that they said that it was they'll have a journal article that says that it was peer reviewed, but you find out that the peers that reviewed it were some numbskulls, and it's like, okay, gotta be more thoughtful about who you choose to trust.
Exactly. So yeah, Amari is like, she laughs at that, but Elsie is less than convinced. She says, "A true researcher is a champion of facts, not make-believe. There's a reason they're shelved in the fiction side of the library." Mrs. Bell is like, "Well, if you change your mind, the computer catalog for the fiction section is right over there." So Amari's like, "Cool, let's go see. I'm curious." She types in.
I also love that Mrs. Bell doesn't like shame Elsie for that. It's like, well, yeah. You know,
if you feel like
that's one way to.
That's the thing, because sometimes kids will just say stuff, and sometimes you just got to be like, all right, if that's how you
she's probably heard it from
people.
Kids, adults, everyone, like people who are just like, I don't I turn up my nose at gossip.
Good for you.
And she's like, okay, that is also valid, but you're not gonna get no new information about your brother unless you go over there. So you make that decision. I'm just letting you know. I'm giving you the resources. And that's the thing about, let's go back to just praising libraries and librarians in general. They're not going to make up your mind for you. They're just going to show you to the resources. That's it. Raise your hand. This is what you're looking for. This is where you find it. Do with that information what you will. You ain't got to believe it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's over there.
It's there. So one headline catches Amari's eye. It's "Rumors and Whisperings. Famed Agent Kept Secrets." Elsie is like, you know, again, not all that convinced until she reads the headline, and she goes, "I've heard of rumors and whisperings. The housekeepers swear by it. Maybe we should be thorough." So I think also in terms of Elsie, it's like she has a secondary like source, or like, what's the word?
Opinion.
Second opinion, word of mouth, or a trusted source. She's like, oh, maybe it's.
She knows, but she knows that the housekeepers have been good sources for things themselves, and so she's like, if the housekeepers who have been good sources for things have used this as a resource, perhaps I will allow this one.
She's like, oh, maybe we can figure something out. So they go to the computer. Or the computer says that it's located right above them, and sure enough, when she looks up, the magazine drops from the ceiling and glides right into Amari's arms. So they go into the study hall on the opposite end of the library, and they flip the magazine open. There are only 2 pages, a table of contents followed by a blank page. The table of contents reads, "Things aren't so rosy as Madame Du Bois accused of stealing from rival. Great Wall of China mysteriously grows an extra 10 meters overnight again. Dwarves insulted by Merlin's insinuation that Golden City is merely gold-plated. And newly elected U.S. president faints at first supernatural affairs briefing. Rogue carnivorous thunderclouds threaten air travel in the South Pacific. No, thank you.
Absolutely not.
Oh, but you remember that flight that disappeared in the South Pacific years ago? And I'm like, is this an allusion to what happened to that flight?
Yep. Here's the other thing, though. Like, flying is magic, and I feel like people take it for granted a lot. Like, especially now we got Wi-Fi on planes. Like, you ever just be on a plane and be like, God damn.
I shouldn't think about it too hard because I'm scared of heights. So I'd be like, let me not think.
I'm in a metal tube that weighs literal tons gliding across the sky. Magic exists. And that every time I'm in a plane, I'm like, magic I don't know how this shit works. It's magic. And I got Wi-Fi. This is crazy.
Aerodynamics, geography,
whatever,
geometry.
Porshèa, this is magic.
Physics.
It's magic. And so, if I'm in a plane that's flying across the sky while I'm watching Netflix and texting my besties, a cloud eating said plane just seems like par for the course.
They're like, yeah, of course.
I mean,
no.
It does, like, flying in the air does feel akin to like dream state in a little bit. Like it's the state of like my existence wherein it's like if magic were to occur, I could see it happening here. Like either in my dreams or like on a plane, like in a nexus space, like a plane or something.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's definitely a yikes either way.
I'm just okay. Also, like we're the extra 10 meters for the Walls to China. Is that more 10 meters longer or
higher
10 meters
or longer?
Higher?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like it has to be longer because if it's higher, isn't that more noticeable?
Wouldn't it be noticeable either way?
Either way,
if it's like, if it's going into a territory.
Well, 10 meters. How much is 10? 10 meters is not.
It's about
that much. I don't know. Of course, we don't use.
None of us do math, so we're just like
none of us use the metric system.
It's 32 feet. Our resistance to the metric system is another reason why this country
is really problematic.
It's really it's about 32 feet. So I feel like
if it was higher, and that might be noticeable. 32 feet higher is noticeable. Longer, maybe not.
But and then I also wonder because it feels like the.
But you also have the department.
I've actually never been to China, so I don't know. But it feels like the ends of the Great Walls would be kind of touristy because that's where you would.
But I think you can enter in multiple different locations,
places, right? But it also feels like the Great Wall is so long that it might be in very remote spots.
Right. And also, like, you have the Department of Half-Truths and Full Cover-Ups. Like, they could, if they get a call, like, oh my God, Great Wall is higher, they could be like, no, it's not.
But here's my thing. If it's higher...
Or longer, either way.
Yeah.
Either way,
if it's higher, it's less likely to have territorial disputes related to it because I'm sure that they've, like, people who live... wherever intersections where the wall hits, if it goes into a territory that people are like, this should not be here, like we all agreed for the treaty that it would stay along this like latitude or longitude or whatever, they would be like, y'all doing something. The agreement says this. I can see the Department of Cover-Ups could be like, they could just like magic the contract and the treaty would look different. It would allow for it. But I'm just saying, and maybe the treaty does that. Maybe it's like every time it adjusts.
I was thinking they would just move the town. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. You wake up and you're like, wasn't there a tree outside my house?
No. What makes you think that?
What makes you?
Like, I could have sworn whenever the sun rose, it was more this way.
It feel like when the sun rose, it was like right in the middle of the window, when it usually is a little bit. No, I don't know. Seems about right.
Yeah.
Also, sidebar, I do love that Merlin, the elf, is starting crap with the dwarves. Like for what, Merlin?
Because he's messy. That is one thing I think.
Elf dwarf.
Merlin is consistently messy across different fictions.
No matter what we're reading,
elves and
Merlin
dwarves have, messy. And also elves and dwarves have
beef. They're beef.
Yep.
That feels like a Lord of the Rings thing that I don't really.
It is.
Really care about.
It is. Okay, the final headline reads: Famed special agent kept secrets, potentially locked away forever. So they're trying to figure out how it works. The magazine tells them that they have to ask a question. So they, Elsie's like, let's do a test run. What can you tell me about Madame Dubois stealing from a rival? So Madame Dubois' pale green face and flowing rose petal locks suddenly appear on the blank page. Beside it is a much younger face, white petals jutting out from her bright yellow scalp like a daisy. Psst, listen up, comes a heavy whisper. Things got heated at an Evertree fashion show after both Madame Dubois and former understudy Vivi Laboom both unveiled nearly identical lines of translucent apparel for ghostly spirits. Laboom, who has long held that she was the real force behind Dubois' recent resurgence in popularity before being unceremoniously fired, has accused Dubois of having a spy within her design circle. Dubois calls the accusations ridiculous, saying Laboom was fired for being a Labum. Curious then that both were spotted laughing it up at Dubois' sprawling woodland estate. Publicity stunt, anyone? Of course, you didn't hear it from us. So I like that the magazine like talks, and it's it makes me think of that skit from In Living Color where she's like, but I ain't want to gossip. Like that's what it reminds me of.
I would love that was her voice, actually. Like, if we ever got this in a movie or a TV show, it would be her, the sister. Is her name?
I think it's Kim. Yeah, Kim Waynes.
Kim Waynes. I would love it with her. But also, I love that, like, the magazine is called Rumors and Whispers, and it communicates via rumors. Whispers. It communicates rumors via whispers. Like, that, I love that. That's how it actually is formatted.
So good.
Yeah. And then also the information itself, like, we got drummed up fashion beef. Like, they're trying to move product.
I would, like, it would be fun to have, if there's, like, another magazine that's called, like, The Tea, and then it's like every time you open it, like a tea setup comes down, and like,
I would love that.
Pick this cup if you want to get, like, it's like the different flavors or the different kinds of tea you want to get.
Drink this one and you'll find out what happened. That would be tight, actually. So then Amari's like, tell me about the special agent keeping secrets. That's not a question, the magazine clucks. Mind your manners. And so Amari's like, fine. Can you please tell me about the special agent keeping secrets? Why, certainly. Psst, listen up. Or first, it's an image of Agent Magnus that appears on the page. Psst, listen up. Special Agent Quinton Peters is known for his heroics as one half of the famed agent team Vanquish. The pair went missing under highly suspicious circumstances about which the Bureau has remained extremely tight-lipped, but maybe they're seeking to protect his legacy more than anything. It's customary for an agent to create a farewell briefcase to be delivered to a loved one in the event of a tragedy, and it was touching indeed that Quinton Peters chose to use his briefcase to offer Amari Peters a place at the Bureau. But one has to wonder, why then would an agent of reputable stature need a second farewell briefcase? What secrets did the Golden Boy need to hide so badly that he'd send it to old Magnus for safekeeping? If the conditions of opening the briefcase are never met, perhaps we'll never know. Of course, you didn't hear it from us. So that's interesting. I do like in this case that Amari is immediately like, I'm gonna go find out more. It's not like she's not taking it as that's actually the case, and the fact that she actually has access to Magnus to ask is helpful because she can actually, like, check her sources. You know what I mean? Right? Double check that this is actually true, because she could go to Magnus and Magnus would be like, I don't know what the hell you talk about. Like, that sounds...
Media literacy. She said, trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't even trust. Not even trust. Just verify.
Just verify. Just let me go see.
I feel like Amari's reaction was literally like, word? Okay.
You said Magnus? So I know exactly where he's at.
I broke up his date. I do not care what I'm breaking up right now. No. Let's do it.
Let's go.
I heard he did it once. I can do it again.
So they go to Magnus's office. Elsie is like, "Are you sure we should bother him this late?" Which again, she's like, "I don't care. I've done this before, but this is our rapport. I come to him at an inopportune time, and he answers my questions." So Magnus opens the door. Is like, "What do you want? I know you've got my brother's second farewell briefcase," which is what a way to open.
Hello. How you doing?
Right. Like,
Good
what's
evening.
going on? Magnus is like, "And where'd you hear that?" "Rumors and whisperings." "Blasted gossip rag," Magnus groans. "Bane of my existence." "Well, do you? Come in and shut the door behind you." I love that. I love that Magnus doesn't even try to like hide it.
No.
He's just like, dang.
But now that makes me wonder if people how much people in this world take that magazine seriously. Like, well, if they said it, then like, you know, like it's like if it's like TMZ to the point where like, well, if they said it, we at least should like ask. Like they might be right, you know?
Yeah.
And I think he also just has a hard time not telling Amari the truth. Like, I think if somebody else, some random, like even if some like random reporter was like, "Is it true you've got Quinton's second?"
He would shut the door on them.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Get out of my face!" But because it's Amari, he's like, "All right." Like, I think he definitely.
I think in some way he does believe that she should have more knowledge, and her parents, like her mom too. Like they should know more than he's allowed to tell them, and he doesn't want to like go against the bureau. But like if she's knocking on his door.
Right. With the answer. Like she said it to him. "I know you got it." She didn't say, "Do you have it?" And that kind of gets around the whole
Right. So Amari asks if Elsie can come too. She says, "You've already met her, and I'll probably tell her everything anyway."
I love that. It's really flawless logic, and it like it's true. Like there are people where I'm like, I'm gonna tell them. So can we just cut this? Save me some time.
They get it direct from the source. They can hear it from me. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
And you also know you're like, yeah, you are gonna tell them. Like even if you know how, like there are moments right where she, even now that her and Dylan have said like we're gonna share everything, she hasn't told him about the key holder. She has kept that really close. That's not going to be the case with Elsie. Like, they started their investigation together.
Magician girl from Elsie for a second, like 1 second,
but barely. And even then, when she was like trying to protect Dylan's like identity or whatever, like it was for a reason, not just like, oh, I can't do it because of me. It was for somebody else.
Yeah, if she hasn't told Elsie that Dylan is a magician because of what that would do to Dylan, and because that's really Dylan's secret to tell. If it was on her, if it wasn't illegal to be a magician, if there wasn't like a real consequence to that, regardless of whether or not she trusts Elsie wouldn't tell anyone or whatever, it's a piece of identity. So it's like you really don't, even if it is your best friend, like that's his identity. That's all on him to decide who knows that and who doesn't. If it wasn't that, if it was like Dylan doesn't want anybody to know, but he left-handed, or his actual supernatural ability is timeliness, not sharpshooting or whatever. She'd have told him. She'd have told Elsie.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah.
Yeah. And then Elsie's like, "I'm really good at keeping secrets, promise." Magnus at this is like, "Might as well. Apparently top secret work is far from secret these days." He's just kind of over it. I think
he's over it. He's like, whisperings and rumors and whispers got it.
He's just like, whatever, bro. I can't. I got Director Van Helsing talking about Amari's disciplinary record at some school I don't care about. Like, he's just like, please.
It's midnight. I'm trying to hang out with my girl.
I'm just trying to go on a date, and I can't even go on one in my office because that's just how my life is going today.
I just trying to do what I gotta. Clock in, clock out, hang out with my girl.
Ask me about secrets. Like, so they go into the office, where everything is made of wood paneling on the walls, a big wooden desk, hardwood floors. He's got a pair of long steer horns above his desk, and lots of pictures of him and other agents on the walls. There's a really big photo of Vanquish on the shelf next to his medals.
Can we also talk about the fact that the man is still at the office? Why are you there?
Fiona, because Fiona is not done yet, so he's waiting on her to be done, and then they can go and do what they got to do. So they sit at his desk. Magnus says, "Maybe I do have it. What's it to you?" And Amari asks what's in it and why did her brother need a new briefcase or another one. Magnus doesn't actually know. He has a guess on what's inside, but he doesn't know because it wasn't meant to be opened. Quinton didn't address it to anyone, just asked Magnus to keep it hidden and said that whatever was inside was never meant to see the light of day. And so Amari asks if he thinks whatever's inside could get him in trouble, which Magnus is kind of suspicious about. He's like, "What do you know?" And Elsie, so she hesitates because she's like, "I don't want to tell the wrong people the things that I know because I don't want to get either Quinton in trouble or, mess up her investigation." And Elsie's like, "I bet he already knows. His aura is a reddish orange, protective. I think he's protecting Quinton, or he's been protecting Quinton all this time." So Amari's like, "We know about the Black Book. We also know that Quinton discovered the key holder's identity. I think that's what he's keeping in that second farewell briefcase." And Magnus is like, "Well, what the?"
What is y'all doing?
How did we get here? How did you get here?
How did we get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. No.
Mm-hmm. I will also say, like,
no.
I would say this kind of proves that she deserves to be a junior agent because she did all this on her own. Her, Elsie, and Dylan put their heads together. They got all this information.
Outsmarted, poisoned on your own petard by a 12-year-old. So,
come on,
just give her the spot now.
Like, this is all information. It's sad. This is all information that they have as adults.
Right.
Like, Dylan and Maria are still younger than they are. They're not even full, like, they're just barely into adulthood. And what were they doing? Like, y'all have all these resources. Y'all been in the game longer, and yet it doesn't take that much for anyone else to figure out these clues. Like, were y'all really trying?
I don't think they were trying. They were like status quo.
Because also Amari's doing this on her day off. Like, she still got to...
Exactly. Like, she only has so many hours.
She still got to prepare for the tryout. Like, yeah. I don't know. So Amari's like, "What I don't understand is why he would search for the key holder if he knows the horrible consequences." Magnus says he won't agree with what he did, but he does understand. It was clear when they raided Moreau's island that he was actively trying to resurrect his fallen comrade. The Black Book has the power to do that. So that's what Moreau wants it for, is to bring back
zombies.
Vladimir. Which, zoinks.
A zombie vampire.
Yep.
Make it
so, yikes.
Do what you gotta do, Quinton. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So basically that's why they're trying to get, that's what Moreau's apprentice is trying to get the location of the Black Key. And because of that, it's that, like, Quinton and Maria are likely still alive, because they're still trying to get information. And the Black Book is still inside the Great Vault, within the Bureau. So it's in the safest place in the supernatural world, is what they keep telling us. And Amari is like,
I feel like if two 12-year-olds can figure out your secret about the Black Key and all this stuff, y'all need to rethink how confident you are about what you consider
maybe
safe.
You need to find something
what you consider unpenetrable. Like,
Mm-hmm.
This is pre-training. They have not been trained by the Bureau truly at all.
No.
They all they got is sky sprints and stun sticks. That's all they've really gotten from the Bureau.
And hope. No, for real.
Motivation.
Ugh. So, Amari's like, well, Moreau was so sure of his plan. And Magnus says that it's all the more reason to get their hands on the apprentice as soon as possible. Amari considers bringing up Maria, but she decides not to because she promised Dylan that she would keep treating her like she's innocent instead of like she's the apprentice. Which, you know, I guess, again, just her being empathetic and it's fine. It's fine. She says, I want to help. I want to find my brother and bring Moreau's apprentice to justice. Magnus tells her that if she becomes a junior agent, then she will officially become part of the Bureau and stand to inherit his belongings, which means that the briefcase would become hers, and then she could she could open it and do more.
I kind of hate the idea that, like, if he had not, say something, terrible had happened before, and he had not decided that he was going to nominate, I guess is the right word, Amari to join the Bureau. If anything did not go the way that it has gone right now, and something happened to Quinton, his family would have they wouldn't have access to his will, they wouldn't have access to his belongings because they're not part of the supernatural world. And that seems...
And his mama still don't.
No.
Amari's keeping this from her mama.
Amari is aware of everything that she could possibly be aware of, and they're still like, nah, but you haven't sworn allegiance, or you're not fully a part of, so you don't get the personal effects of your, like, family.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So then, Magnus warns her that it's likely the information made Quinton a target, not to mention what it could mean for the Bureau if word got out what Quinton was up to. Amari says, I'll keep Quinton secret, and I don't care about being safe, or if there's a target on my back too. I'm just like, this sweet, sweet child. Like,
sweet, reckless child.
Girl, please. Maybe care a little bit. Like, I get it. You have a goal. It's all important, but please take care of yourself.
Let's safety. We should care about safety, child.
Just a little bit.
Just a bit. Especially since you know what happened to your brother. Let's pull back.
Yeah.
Especially since, no one else around you cares what happens to you. They think that you don't belong here. They're ready to see you go at any moment.
Perspective.
And she's like, that's fine. I got this. Which, I guess. Magnus says, good or bad, you've got Quinton's same fire in your blood. That same stubborn determination minus a setback or two. And so Amari's like, let me help. I'm sure my magic could help. Something buzzes on Magnus's belt. He unclips his phone and holds it to his face and asks about if that has anything to do with the message she just got about her dumping a pile of spaghetti on Laura Van Helsing.
Shout out to him having a belt clip for his phone.
I know.
Magnus said, I am old school, okay?
He very, 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 because I'm like, they still have those?
Man, no.
I expect you to pull out a pager.
He bought them in bulk when they were being discontinued. He said, look, I know a good thing when I get it.
That's so funny. He says, if anyone's due for a bit of spaghetti humbling, it's that Van Helsing gal. Kid was born with her nose turned up. And Amari's like, so you're not going to kick me out of junior agent training? Magnus says, I'm sure those phone calls will be coming at any minute, but it's a good time to trade in some of the goodwill you built up with the chief by meeting with Moreau. You've already got enough going against you. The chief is already under a lot of pressure to not promote her to junior agent. But basically, all these people assumed she was going to fail the second trial, so they weren't tripping. And now that it seems like she's going to make it to the finale, they're all in an uproar. The idea of a magician inside the Bureau scares a lot of people, and Amari's like, but there have been magicians named Van Helsing in the Bureau this whole time.
She said, but that ain't none of my business.
The hypocrisy. She's like, I'm peeping. But but I'm asleep. You know,
She,
she's
you
like,
know,
it's fine.
I remain
She gets for being
comatose.
too nice, too considerate.
Again, she's like, you know what?
And now she knows there's resource that if she just wanted to whisper something, she'd be like, yo, I know a source. If I just want to like slip a little whisper into something,
Some
like, you
rumors.
didn't hear it from me.
Exactly.
But the Van Helsing's been magicians
this
for
whole time,
decades, centuries.
This whole
Abraham
time.
Van Helsing was one of the first. Was a magician. He was the magician's apprentice. So basically, Magnus tells her that she just has to try really hard in the finale and make it hard as possible to overlook her. And if she does that, then he'll do what he can to make sure that she gets a fair chance.
Which is like weird because you shouldn't have to do what you can to make sure someone gets a fair chance. That already means that she's not getting a fair chance.
But it's, I mean, he already knows that, but I think it's also like, it's hard, right? Because he works with director Van Helsing. He's not like,
no, and I understand. I'm just saying,
he's like, I'm going to use what I have, like my social capital and whatever, to try to make this work. But
the actual sentence though should be, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that their attempts to screw you are unsuccessful, because she's not getting a fair chance. Like the fair chance is out the window.
Either way, it's done.
That shit gone. That's not it.
Yeah.
The fair chance was gone as soon as we realize, and like this is Magnus saying that, but like as soon as the people in the bureau realize they really don't want her to have a fair shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was that. It was a wrap.
That was it.
It was very much a wrap. So Amari's like, I'm gonna outwork them all. So that means she's about to drive herself to exhaustion. You know,
it's like a futile game, and that's what, like I was saying earlier. I'm like, it's really giving like she's being put in a situation that it really has something. It should not be on her at all.
No. All right.
And yet she's like, oh, it's a challenge. They're like, it's not a challenge for you. It's a challenge for the people who are trying to keep you from out of here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. MVP.
I went with Amari. I mean, this like last little sentence just really like shows, you know what I mean? Like, it's not actually a fair chance, but she's so determined. She knows what's going on. And again, like, this is partially because like I do not understand this life, but like being so focused on a goal and not getting distracted. I mean, she gets a little distracted, but not enough. Like when she got here, she said, I'm gonna find out what's happening with my brother. Mm-hmm. And everything else is gravy. She just finished the second trial. She's into the finale. People are hating on her for that. And she is like, but you know what? Let's go see if there's some more information about what's happening with my brother, you know? And like that focus and determination and like, yeah, like she is not, like her goal remains her goal no matter what she's up against. And I just think that is super admirable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also made Amari my MVP for similar reasons. Also, mostly for dumping that spaghetti on Lara's head, though. That was the main reason.
Yeah, bonus points for that one on my end.
I'm with it. I made Elsie my MVP because she really is the support and backup that Amari needs throughout the chapter. So, like, I think like she would not have felt like the extra like push and like validated to do what she needs to do if Elsie weren't there to like back her up and like be there. And I also love that like she's just funny like piping in like, I'm really good at keeping secrets. It's like, okay, girl.
If you say so. That's what someone who's not very good at keeping secrets would say. I love them.
I also love that she's so genius that she's like, oh, 15 minutes flat, I got these puzzles, don't even worry about it.
Mm-hmm. What about benched? Do
we really need to even?
I think we all said Lara. I don't think we necessarily said it. She's just...
She needed spanking. I don't believe in corporal punishment. I don't believe in spankings, but
she needs she needs a therapy retreat for like whichever family member will go with her at that moment. Her mother, her brother, whoever. Like she needs therapy real bad. They all need therapy, but they need to go in pairs and work it out.
Yeah, it's really at this point like
your girl is miserable.
Ugh, and the worst.
And it's like it has to be exhausting to be that miserable.
She literally has Amari running around in her brain all day. Like, you sit over here committing hate crimes in Amari's bedroom when you should have been studying them books.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to blame someone instead of questioning where you went wrong. Get it together.
Started on third base. There's a Pat Summitt quote that's like, you got a lot of people on third base, born on third base thinking they hit a triple. And that is Laura. But also she struck out, or she got out.
She didn't even pass.
Bye.
Woo!
Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week for chapter 27. Let us know, related to our last question, if Amari did not decide to join the Department of the Supernatural Affairs to find Quinton, what department do you think she should have joined and where she would have been great at? You can let us know on social media, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can just respond in the app and we will share the answers to your questions on a future episode.
Yeah. Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create. If you want to keep up with our other content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Twitter at BLKNerdsCreate, at Yana Wrote It, at Robyn_Rambles, and at Porshèa. You can also follow on Instagram and Tumblr at Black Nerds Create. Don't forget to subscribe to our monthly magic newsletter, and don't forget to rate and review. Bye, y'all.
Ooh.
Bye.
Bye.